One guy arrives at the dock with a $5,000 sonar device strapped to his boat. Another arrives with an old glass jar in his pocket. At the end of the day, the guy with the jar left with 34 fish. The guy with the sonar went home with 8. If you want to know what was inside that jar, sign up here. I'll show you everything. While the industry sells you gadget after gadget, the old fishermen of the southern United States already knew how to get the whole school of fish to come to the bait. No panel, no screen, no display. A homemade setup that costs less than $3 and that you can do at home in less than 5 minutes. This knowledge remained dormant for decades, and the industry prefers it to stay that way. If this is your first time here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any secrets the industry tries to keep hidden. It was the summer of 2021 on Table Rock Lake, Missouri. 2 fishermen, same spot, same water conditions and temperature. The first had a $400 rod, sonar installed on his boat, and a tackle box full of imported synthetic lures. The second was a 68-year-old man who learned to fish with his father on the banks of the Mississippi. He brought a simple rod and a sealed glass jar. Before casting his first lure, he took the jar out of his pocket, dripped 3 drops on top of the lure, shook it lightly in the palm of his hand, and cast. No ceremony, no drama. 2 hours later, the old man had 27 bass and catfish in his bucket. The other man had 6. This story is not folklore. It circulated with photographic evidence in fishing groups in the Midwest and reached me through a retired fisherman from Tennessee who knew the man personally. And it wasn't just in Missouri. This same pattern appears in Alabama, Arkansas, and Louisiana Cajun country. The older fishermen in these regions, those who never had the money for sonar or premium bait, fill their buckets with a regularity that puts any state-of-the-art equipment to shame. In the bayou, in the delta, on the banks of the Tennessee River, this preparation has been passed down through 3 generations. The grandfather taught the father taught the son. There are no books, no YouTube channels, no brands sponsoring, just the knowledge that survived because it truly worked. But most of this knowledge is disappearing. The children grow up in the city, get cell phones, buy the latest sonar, and return from the lake with fewer fish than their grandfather caught in a canoe with simple nylon line. Before I show you what was inside that glass, you need to understand why it works in a way that no sonar in the world can replicate. The fishing industry in the U.S. generates over $55 billion a year. There's a very clear interest in you buying sonar, buying synthetic bait, buying $18 a can of attractant spray. What they don't want you to know is that a 3 homemade concoction works better than anything they sell. The link below contains a complete guide for you to learn the techniques that riverside fishermen in the South used and still use to catch more fish while spending almost nothing. Just download it. What was in that old man's jar at Table Rock was a fermented mixture of ground corn with anise oil and animal fat. It sounds crazy, but science explains every reaction that happens in the water when the fish sense this compound. Master fishermen in the Mississippi Delta used this in the 1970s to attract catfish and largemouth bass from distances that today would require professional sonar to detect. The most absurd thing? It works best in murky water, exactly where sonar loses its effectiveness. But the secret isn't just throwing it in the water. There's a chemical reaction that activates the fish's sensory system in a chain reaction. And I'm going to show you what happens down there before we get into the step-by-step process. Fish have 2 main systems for detecting food: their sense of smell and their lateral line. Their sense of smell works through the water, picking up dissolved organic compounds from tens of meters away. The lateral line detects vibration and pressure. What this preparation does is activate both of them simultaneously. The fermentation of corn releases amino acids and short-chain fatty acids, the same compounds found in decomposing organisms. For fish, this is a direct signal of easy food nearby. Anise oil amplifies all of this because it contains anethole, a compound that bass and catfish instinctively recognize, like a biological alarm that says, "There's food here." It's like a sound lure for an animal that uses its nose as its primary radar. Now, the step-by-step instructions. You will need 2 cups of cracked corn, the kind from feed stores, about $1.50 for a small bag. 3 tablespoons of anise oil, found in fishing stores or online for less than $6. The bottle lasts for months. 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, any brand, the fattier the better. 1 pinch of coarse salt. Warm water, enough to cover the corn. Step 1. Mix the corn with warm water in a covered jar. Let it ferment at room temperature for 48 hours. The warmer the environment, the faster the process. It will smell very strong. This smell is exactly the sign that it's working. Step 2. After 48 hours, drain the water and add the peanut butter and salt. Mix well until it becomes a thick paste that still has visible peanut kernels in the middle. Step 3. Now comes the anise oil. The proportion I use here is one of those in the guide, along with other combinations adapted for different species. Add 8 to 10 drops to the mixture and stir well. Don't add more than that. Too much anise repels instead of attracting. Step 4. Store in a glass jar with a lid and refrigerate. It lasts up to 10 days refrigerated. If you want to store more, freeze it in small portions. It will keep for 3 months in the freezer without losing any of its effectiveness. Total cost? Less than $4. Provides 6 to 8 fishing trips. But there's one detail that most fishermen ignore when using it. And it's precisely this detail that separates those who fill their buckets from those who return empty-handed. If you want to boost it even further, you can add sardine extract. Sardine oil enhances the olfactory signal in cold water. A few drops along with the anise already make a difference. Garlic powder releases organic sulfides to which catfish respond very intensely. 1 teaspoon in the final mixture. Why will this never appear on the shelves of any fishing store? A bottle of attractant spray from a well-known brand costs around $15 to $18. The actual manufacturing cost? Less than $0, $80. The margin they need to protect is enormous. If people learn to make it at home for $3, that entire shelf of attractant products stops selling. It's that simple. The old Southern fishermen never needed those brands, and the market never forgave that. How to use in water. Apply a hazelnut-sized amount directly to the bait before casting. Don't overdo it. Less is more here. Also, place a small amount in the water before you start fishing. This creates a scent trail that guides the school of fish towards your bait. The best times are from dawn until 9 a.m. and from 5 p.m. until sunset. Largemouth bass, catfish, and crappie respond best. Carp also react very strongly. The most common mistake, throwing too much into the water at once. This saturates the environment, and the fish stop investigating. A tablespoon sprinkled on the surface is more than enough to create the right trail. Think about what happens when you stop trying to find the fish and start making the fish come to you. That's when fishing reaches a whole new level. Click now, secure your access to high-level fishing, and let these strategies start transforming your next fishing trips. The link is in the first pinned comment. When you return from the water applying what you've learned, come back here and comment, "I caught more." That will be your commitment to your evolution in fishing. And perhaps it's exactly the step that separates the stories you hear from the stories you'll start telling. Imagine your next fishing trip. While the others arrive at the dock with $5,000 sonar, You arrive with a $4 vial in your pocket. In 2 hours, you double the number of fish. Your friends will ask what device you bought. You look at the vial in your pocket. You decide whether to tell them. What the master fisherman of the Delta knew, and what the industry will never teach you, is worth more than any electronic equipment. This knowledge doesn't disappear. It's passed from hand to hand, from those who understand to those who truly want to learn. And now it's reached you. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.